I remember like being on the delivery table and already knowing how positive my birth experience was that I'd be ready for this again.
I think you're the first woman who lies there and is like, I could do this again.
I literally said that to my gynecologist on the delivery table.
Hi, welcome to 9+9, the honest pregnancy and birthing podcast. And today is with me Anuva, who is expecting her baby, I just found out. And she's also an education consultant and she runs a hospital in Gujarat. But today we shall be talking about your first pregnancy and your first baby and also the current pregnancy. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. Now I have a 20-month-old son and I'm due again. So the age gap is going to be about 2 years and 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
So soon. Actually, when we talked, I didn't expect. This is amazing.
I know. I think I remember like being on the delivery table and already knowing how positive my birth experience was that I'd be ready for this again. A lot of this has to do with what kind of experience women have in their pregnancy and then their delivery and then postpartum. I think that has a lot to do with when they decide and when they feel how ready they are to have the next one. And I just felt like because I had such a positive pregnancy and birthing experience, and I would say even in my postpartum journey, I feel like everyone does hit some form of postpartum, but it had all just been so smooth that I felt like I was very ready from the start.
Wow, I think you're the first woman who lies there and is like, I could do this again.
I literally said that to my gynecologist on the delivery table. I was like, doctor, I would have another child with you tomorrow.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. And I feel like, and actually, it sounds like, I mean, I'm saying I had the most positive birthing experience, but in that moment, actually, everything that could have gone wrong would have gone wrong. But I think against all odds, I actually delivered my baby with the umbilical cord wrapped around his neck 2 times, naturally without any drugs or medication, so without any epidural.
I would recommend that gynecologist as well, because most of them, once they would have realized that happens, they would have just gone for a C-section.
Rolled me in for a C-section, no brainer, no second thoughts, no questions asked. But this gynecologist really stood his ground. He fought with my entire family, my husband's family, and he told everyone to walk out the door. And he told everyone he's not going to touch me or cut me open because he knows what the human body is capable of, even against all odds, which I found remarkable, which is why on the delivery table I was able to say that to him. It was the most out of body liberating experience. But I just feel like if more women knew that they can do this, which means they can deliver babies naturally with the umbilical cord wrapped around the baby's neck, because the baby knows what to do. And of course, there's medical protocol involved, which is monitoring the baby's heart rate. And as long as the mom's heart rate and there's no fever, and as long as the baby's heart rate is regular, there's absolutely no intervention required. Medically speaking, which was the case with me, where they monitored me with an NST every hour, like 2 days leading up to me like completing 39 weeks, and there was no discrepancy in the baby's heart rate or mine, and they just felt, and my gynecologist just with experience felt there's no reason for him to cut me open. And then my water broke at midnight, and I labored for not even 8 hours because I was unmedicated, which is another very interesting aspect of natural childbirth, where if you don't medically interfere with the process of your surges or contractions, then the body knows what to do and the baby knows what to do, and then they just work in tandem, and it's just a very smooth process. I mean, you hear of like women having 48-hour labors, 36-hour labors, like 72-hour labors in their first time.
Yeah.
And mine, given it was my first gestation ever, it was not even 8 hours. I think the baby just knew what to do, my body knew what to do, my body knew when to push and when the baby should push, and they just worked so beautifully together that it was the most seamless entry into the world. And then you hear of women having like 15 stitches or like 24 stitches or even like 5 stitches. I think I didn't even get half a stitch.
Wow.
Which is
That's
again,
also a difference, yeah.
Exactly, and then it's the other thing about this thing called episiotomies, right? Which is another routine medical intervention which gynecologists do more in India. It's very common in India. I remember in Delhi, my childhood gynecologist, I had gone to her and I just asked her, I was like, oh, do you do episiotomies? She's like, but naturally. And I'm like, what's natural about you doing an episiotomy, where it's, for anyone who doesn't know, it's taking scissors and cutting the end of your vagina, and in order for it to make it easier for the doctor to watch the baby come out or hold the baby. And that's another thing my doctor didn't do, because I requested him. I said, it's something I don't believe in, and I believe I've done a lot of my stretching and a lot of yoga and a lot of swimming leading up to my delivery, and I trust my body. Again, it's about trusting your mind and trusting your body and knowing that as women, our bodies were built for childbirth.
Yeah.
It's been going on for...
Since we exist.
Since we existed.
Back to your labor.
Yes.
So you said your water broke. How did you know that you were in labor? Because it was your first baby, right?
So I was already admitted to the hospital.
Okay.
And I was induced because of, it was against my will, I'm not going to lie, but it was the pressure our families were putting on us, where like, you're 39 plus weeks, and I told everyone around me that no one will touch me or come to me till I'm 39 weeks. I mean, I would have loved to go full term. I would have loved to go 40, 41. I would have loved to have absolute no intervention, but because the baby's umbilical cord was wrapped around his neck 2 times, I agreed to be admitted. So I got admitted on a Thursday, and then they gave me those induction pills. I was already having pre-labor. So going back to how I knew, so it's these surges and contractions, they come from the back like a wave, and then they come in the front. So, and then another interesting thing that may or may not start at 36, 37 weeks is something called Braxton Hicks, which are essentially, I don't want to say fake contractions, but they're sort of artificial contractions that your body goes through, or your mind is signaling to your body to prepare for the actual party. So a lot of women end up going through this, and it's a good thing, because they're preparing to know what it feels like for your body to go into natural labor.
Yeah.
And it's something that starts at around 36 weeks, leading up to when you actually go into active labor. So I was having Braxton Hicks contractions from 36 weeks. So I knew what it's going to feel like. I would go into the pool, I would have a bath, a shower, and then I was admitted, and then I was given these induction pills. And they said I'm going to be given 4 rounds, and every 4 hours. And if those are not successful, I'll be rolled in for a C-section the next morning. Because now I was in the hands of medical staff.
Yeah.
But I told myself that's not going to happen. And I told myself, even if I go into labor, I'm not going to need the epidural. So I told the staff that if I require it, my husband and I have mouths, we will ask for it. So we don't want anyone interfering in our journey.
Yeah.
So I took the 3 doses, and then my water broke. So it's just a little bubble of water that just gushes out.
A little bubble of like
probably
2
like
liters.
2 liters. And then they come and examine it to make sure there's no meconium, which is the baby's poop, which is super, super dark. And so my water broke, and I looked at my husband. I was like, let's get this party started. This is epic. This is what we wanted. We can do it. One step closer. And he was so supportive in the room. So we did have a doula, and she helped my husband. She walked my husband through what kind of massages he can give me, what kind of counter pressure he can give my back. And I think that was something that gave a lot of confidence to my husband, and it would give to any male in the room or any partner on how they can be of value to someone going through this.
Yeah, they would feel so helpless, right?
Exactly.
Seeing you there struggling.
Exactly. And full of emotion. So it was incredible having a doula with us in the room. And so this happened at around midnight. And I labored for about 7.5 hours. And it just, I dilated so quick. So your body knows what to do naturally, which I feel like even against all odds, which was so interesting. And then I remember my baby just slid out 8:30
Oh
a.m.
God, I would be so scared that the umbilical cord is around their neck and they're sliding out. Don't they hang themselves?
I mean, that's the thing, right? I mean, it's a 20 plus centimeter long cord. There's bound for there to be action inside. I feel like it's very common. I actually know 3 other people amongst my extended friend circle who are full term and have the umbilical cord wrapped around the baby's neck 1 or 2 times, like 2 cords or 3 nuchal cords, and they're essentially just like, oh, we're going in for a C-section, which is fine. But I feel like, again, when you put yourself in rural India or rural Africa, where you tell yourself there's no hospitals, so this is not an option, and medically everything's going okay. I told myself in my mind, I said there's nothing that can happen, nothing can go wrong, and I feel like the mind is much more powerful than the body. It is what signals the body to feel pain or not to feel pain, to feel fear or not to feel fear.
Yeah, you just feel so positive, like, let's get this party started. I don't think many women were thinking that when their water broke.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the cords. What's funny is that even in those 8 hours of active, conscious labor, I didn't think about the cords even once. Even leading up to me being admitted, I didn't think about the cords. So I feel like when you're not thinking about something, I didn't feel like my baby can choke and die. I just felt like my baby knows what to do. So going back to hypnobirthing, I think that's one of the things that really really helped formulate the positivity in my journey through pregnancy, and in just knowing that I can have a positive birth.
So when did you start hypnobirthing and how did you start it?
So we didn't plan this pregnancy. It was unplanned. So it was quite a shock. So we took a couple of months for it to,
you only have a couple of months to process
I know. It took I would say like 3-4 months to process it. I think it was like on some group. It was very random. It fell into my lap. It was right place, right time, right moment. It's there was a brochure of someone who posted about a hypnobirthing coach. She had a very traumatic birthing experience, surprisingly, in Australia. And then she had very positive birthing experiences in India, ironically.
Wow.
I know, one would have thought it's the other way around.
Yeah.
So she's been a hypnobirthing coach, and I connected with her, and I decided to call her home, and it was something me and my husband had to do. And it was about, I want to say 5 to 6 sessions, 2 hours each. It's actually like completing a certification course, because it's not a joke. And you learn a lot. She teaches you a lot about, episiotomies, about what your options are, about lactation and breastfeeding, and of course about how to put yourself into hypnosis to not require drugs. And she helps you. There are a lot of breathing techniques involved, and there's a lot of internalization. There's a lot of meditation, which is something I've been practicing anyway. So it was a lot of things in my life coming together. You could be chanting, you could be doing the rainbow meditation, and then there's affirmations. So it's really interesting because she gives you all these tools that you use when you are in labor.
Okay.
And she teaches you how to breathe through it. We don't call it contractions, we call it surges.
Yeah.
Right? Because surges just come and go. Contractions just sounds really harsh and
No,
rough.
also because surges push the baby out and contractions feel like they keep the baby in.
Exactly. So she just taught us, she taught me and my husband how to treat the uterus and what and it was beautiful, because you tell yourself the uterus is like a flower and it's opening and closing, and it was incredible. It's a very science backed, it's very common, it's mostly used for water births, which is something I initially wanted to do, but my family being very not so progressive and traditional, so they said that's not happening. You anyways want to have an unmedicated birth, and now the baby has an umbilical cord wrapped around his neck 2 times, and you're pushing all our buttons. So
yeah,
the water
I've heard
birth,
this before. Doesn't the baby suffocate if they're born in water? And I'm like,
oh my God,
what did you think the baby is doing before it's coming?
For 9 months, it's living in water. So it's the most gentle form.
Yeah.
I feel like if anyone has the option of a water birth, they shouldn't even think twice. I think it's such a natural process for the baby. It was my absolute dream. I don't know, maybe it could happen.
Now you have a second one.
I know, but I also love my gynecologist, who also only delivers in hospital. So it's it's a tricky one. But I feel like babies they live in water for 9 months, so it would only be natural for them to be born into water. It's the most gentle form of human nature. But so we did this hypnobirthing course where it was about, we did a class a month to work from like 5 months onwards, so it would stay much more fresh in our memory leading up to me going full term.
And did you also practice at home? Like
all the time. I mean, this requires a lot of practice. When I was in the car at night, through my 9 months of pregnancy, I didn't take a single nap, except maybe towards the end when I got really exhausted. But that's when I started really practicing my rainbow meditation, my manifestations. You tell yourself that, the baby is the right size for my body, and the baby and my body know what to do to work together to do on this journey. And it's so interesting because, in society, I hear other friends and other mums who are like, oh, the doctor told me my hips are too small and the baby's too big. And I'm just like, are you listening to yourself? I feel like it has a lot to do with just telling yourself that everything is how it's supposed to be. Right? Not how it's not. Everyone's always constantly telling us how it's not supposed to be. But I feel like if the doctor started saying, oh, don't worry about the baby's weight. Like it's right for your body. Don't worry about your hips. Like they're not, defect. You know what I mean? Like I have other medical conditions actually, which would have prevented me from having a natural delivery, but here we are again. Everything could have worked against me. So I say that I've had a very positive birthing experience is because I worked on it to be positive. I feel like if I told myself all the negative sides of what can go wrong, they would go wrong. So I also feel like being pregnant and preparing for delivery has a lot to do with telling yourself to be positive about it.
Yeah, you shouldn't be fear-driven. That's what I also feel. Like if you're pregnant, you're anyway so scared because the first time you're pregnant mostly, or if you have lost a baby before, like there's so many fears in you.
Exactly.
And then if you concentrate on those fears,
passed on to your child because you're so connected, right? Your entire central nervous system, your entire blood work, it's all so connected that your child is feeding off that energy. And if you're constantly happy and positive and listening to good music and telling yourself that it's all just going to work out, then the baby is listening to that, and then the baby knows that it just has to work out.
Yeah, so if you don't want your baby to be crybaby, you should really curb your stress, whatever you feel. I'm sure you're feeling stressed when you run a hospital.
I mean, it's everything in life can be stressful if you make it. Like if your babies are going to fall all the time, right? I mean, they're wobbly, imbalanced little infants, and if you get stressed every time they fall, it could transcend in them howling, or just if you don't react, they're going to get over it, right? It's all about like cause and effect. It's all about they're looking for your reaction. And I'm just saying this because I have a 20-month-old, right, who's like running
obviously
exactly, like running all over the place,
hazard.
banging his head on things and tripping on nothing, right? And it's like I just look at him trip, and it's probably hurt a lot, but I'm just like, yeah, you'll be fine. Like you're going to be fine. Get up and carry on. He gets up and carries on, like he's not going to wail about it, Everyone feeds off each other's energies. I feel we all feed off each other's positive and negative energies, right? Like we know who we want to surround ourselves with. So I feel like it's very similar to raising
and then you're constantly connected. It's like when you're sitting with a friend and you're feeding off that energy for those 2 hours, but there you're feeding off 24 hours.
If women try to internalize and channel in the journey of pregnancy and then labor and also post, is that it's transitional and all this is seasonal. Even when I was I'm not going to say it didn't hurt, right? I mean, I'm not going to lie, like of course it was uncomfortable, but I told myself this
uncomfortable is such a nice way of putting it.
Exactly, but I would never say it was painful or it was, because God makes you forget that, which is why women, give birth to children all the time, continuously. And secondly, I feel like the one thing I told myself is this is not going to last forever. And I feel like nothing in being a parent lasts forever, whether it's the sleepless nights, whether it's the child being so dependent on you in the beginning, whether it's the pregnancy or the labor or the post or the breastfeeding, it doesn't last forever. Nothing is lasting forever.
It becomes all shorter, like the pregnancies for a very long time, then the labors for a very long time, then the actual birth pains is very short compared to that. And then it all elongates back again once you have children. It's
so
like
true. And then
every phase lasts longer.
I know. It's so interesting. So I feel like I told myself a lot that it's just it's seasonal and transitional. And then of course breastfeeding, I spoke to my friends. I was like, guys, you never said it's going to be so hard. Like labor was a walk in the park compared to breastfeeding.
Yeah?
I mean, initially, right? Like it's so interesting. And I ended up breastfeeding for 14 months. So it's very shocking to hear that I found the initial couple of weeks, months very intense and hard. It was probably harder than labor for me.
How? Why?
Because again, so my baby was born, I latched him at birth, that was the plan. I told the doctors that I want 5 to 7 minutes with the baby so that he learns how to latch. It's called the golden hour. It's called the golden hour because when the baby is born, whether it's natural, so if it's natural, you will notice that the baby is working with the body to push themselves out. And when they come out, their eyes are wide open and black eyeballs or whatever color eyeballs. And they're very awake because they've worked with you. They've not been asleep in gestation. They've worked with your body to push out for how many ever hours.
Yeah, for them it's also so exhausting.
It's a lot of work. It's very exhausting, which is why it's called the golden hour, because after that they're going to pass out, right? Because they've worked so hard. So if a mom just puts aside how exhausted she is and how much she's in pain, whether she's bleeding or stitched up or has been cut open, and if she just lets the baby, have you ever seen those videos of babies crawling to the breast crawl?
Yeah, I tried that, but I think my babies were too lazy.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't try it, but I feel like I sort of may have tried it, but
I
it's not.
saw it, but I was like, no, I think my kids were way too lazy.
I mean, yeah, it's I've seen videos of actual babies crawling to the breast because in my hypnobirthing class, my coach showed me videos of how, babies when they're born, they can only see black and white, right? And then they say the areolas and the nipples of the mom become very dark over time because then they're dark enough for the baby to see it. It was something very interesting.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what the baby's eyes can see when they're born, even though it's blurry, right?
Yeah.
But their vision is blurry. So I remember, I latched the baby and I told the medical staff to give me 5 minutes, even though I was in a very bureaucratic environment. And they're like, let's go. We have the next delivery. And, the labor room needs to be freed and it needs to be sanitized. But I told them I want 5 minutes. And then they cleaned me up and then they took the baby out. And then I met the baby an hour later, maybe in the room. And then my husband got the baby and then the pediatrician walked in. So as soon as you deliver the baby, if all is well with the woman, the gynecologist's work is pretty much done and then the case is handed over to the pediatrician. So the pediatrician walked in and he examined my son and he looked at me and he was like, how's the latch? And I'm like, I don't know, seems fine. Like I'm black and blue and bleeding and I was like, but I think this is part of how it works. Like I think it's supposed to really hurt in the first couple of weeks or hours but I'm just powering through because I've told myself I have no other option. So the doctor looked at me and the doctor was like, but your son has a severe tongue tie. Which means the string beneath the tongue, which is where the baby learns how to use the tongue to latch and extract milk out of the nipples.
Yeah, because they actually don't suck, they just push it out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like the upper lips and the tongue actually work like that. So they pull it in so they pull it in. They don't really know how to suck, especially in the beginning. So he said he has a tongue tie, which meant that the string was too short, so he wasn't learning how to do that. But again, so a part of me could have freaked out and like call this mom store and been like, send over a can of formula. Like, I don't think this is not going to be my journey. My baby has a tongue tie, so I'm going to have to start a bottle and he's not going to get enough milk because he's not going to know how to extract the milk. And I was like, okay, like.
Did they offer surgery? Because sometimes they also offer surgery.
They say later. They say they'll examine over time. They'll examine the tongue tie over time and then see if he requires anything. And then that's another interesting part. So, so the doctor was like, oh, he has a severe tongue tie, and we can examine it over time. We can see if it needs to be cut, or if your feeding journey goes okay, then maybe we don't need to interfere or do any intervention. So, anyways, the doctor left, and I just pretended like I didn't have this piece of information. I just told myself less information the better.
Did you share that with your family?
I don't remember. Maybe later. I feel like in the moment I just...
Sounds like you wouldn't have shared.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I genuinely actually, I don't think I did because I didn't make it a big deal. I was like, this is irrelevant. I mean, it was the most beautiful 14 months of my entire life. Like we were talking about, I think the natural oxytocin that the hormones produce. And I feel like it also has a lot to do with postpartum. I feel like women who breastfeed, it's not that they don't get postpartum depression, but I think it's more, it's more not controlled, but it's less. I feel like it can be less intense because you're also telling, you're also doing something for your child, that you're giving your child nutrition, and you feel like you're worthy, and you feel like it's a sense of achievement that really can help you mentally, I feel.
But I also think you have strong mental aptitude, because a lot of women would have gone even deeper into like postpartum depression after seeing that the latch is so difficult and it's such a pain to feed the baby and they're in so much pain. That would actually increase the chances of...
That's one way to look at it.
Yeah, and it's about your mind.
It all goes back, it all boils down to how you approach that current situation or that current moment where you've been given news that you A, weren't prepared for, B, it could disappoint you, it could change your journey entirely, but then you tell yourself that no, if I've decided that this is my journey and I want to take this path of feeding, then nothing can get in the way of that journey. And then basically, then I went to the pediatrician, and then later for like my post 2 weeks checkup or 6 weeks checkup, and then he was like, okay, the tongue tie, it seems pretty bad, but it's not interfered with your breastfeeding journey, so I'm not worried, but we'll have to examine it when he starts talking. So in the back of my head, I'm like, oh my God, is my son's speech going to be affected? Am I going to have to do an intervention and surgery? I mean, he started saying his first words at 10, 11 months.
Wow.
Then, yeah, it was like ball and kick, and I looked at my husband and I was like, see, again, this is information we didn't need. And now it's like he's saying 4-word sentences, and it's just so interesting with that same tongue tie. So it's just like, if you don't think about something and if you're not worried about it constantly, it's not going to worry you, and then you just shove that information under the rug and never think about it again. So sometimes I feel like less information the better, and I know I'm contradicting myself because in the beginning I said more information the better, but obviously it's related to different scenarios, and I feel like in these situations where just like I said, like a doctor is telling you, oh, your baby's too big for your body, like less information the better at that point, you know what I mean? Like you don't need to be told how big or small your baby is, because even technically the doctor doesn't know how big or small your baby is.
Yeah, that's true, even they have their measuring.
Exactly, it's just a scale where they could be 200 to 300 grams completely off. You know, if they say your baby's a good 3 kilos, but it's born at 2.8, it's because or it's born at 3.2, it's always going to be 200 plus or minus. So I feel like, who are they to tell anyone how big or small their baby is in gestation when it really does not matter?
It's also so individual, like it depends on how high is your pain tolerance. Like if you have a very high pain tolerance, you might be able to give birth to a really big baby without any issues, even though you're small. Exactly. But if you have really low pain tolerance, giving birth to anything which is bigger than a tampon would probably be
going to be a struggle. Exactly.
So it depends on you.
It's very individual for sure. But and then so Melissa taught us about the golden hour and how important that was, going back to that, because in that first hour the baby is very awake and alert. So if you help the baby latch, then your journey can be very different, because then after that hour the baby passes out for a few hours, and then when the baby wakes up, the baby's hangry, right? The baby's starving, and then say you work, that's not the time to be working on a latch and mama and baby learning what has to be done, because the baby's pissed, the baby's really hungry, the tiny stomach is now, pissed out that amniotic fluid, and now the tummy's empty.
Yeah, and they also experience like fear that is basically mortal fear, like they could die. They have never had this feeling before, and
they've never had to starve.
Yeah, they don't know what
which is why they're wailing and crying, and it's also they're in a new like air zone, right? They've never had to breathe this kind of air, and it's so alien to them. And then if the baby's trying to latch and say the latch is not working at that moment, then the mom is going to get frustrated, the baby's going to get frustrated, and then you're just going to shove in a bottle in their mouth, and then your mom is going to be really annoyed, and then everyone else is going to be annoyed, and then that's kind of like a different journey and a different vicious cycle that you didn't really think would happen to you, but then it's happening to you. So I feel like that was one of the things Melissa taught us. And then
to be very conscious about your choices. I mean, there's also a choice that you choose a bottle, because if you have family support and you go back to work, then at least everybody can feed the baby. You don't have to worry about it.
Very true.
But those are the things you have to think about in advance.
Those are
like, what is your life looking
exactly.
like? And if you can breastfeed,
exactly.
then you should.
Right. I mean, I feel like if you can, you should. But I mean, for me, my journey was so interesting. We live in this very conservative country, right, where it's women don't breastfeed openly like they do in the West. But
really? I felt it was here much more open than over there.
I feel like in rural India, like I see women on the streets breastfeeding, just covered with their sari.
Yeah.
I see that. To my friends, none of them are comfortable with breastfeeding in public, even with the nursing cover, I mean.
Yeah.
But here I was like, I live far away from everywhere I have to get to in town. And I'd rather take my baby everywhere than worry about taking my pumps everywhere.
Yeah.
So I just breastfed him in the car, in the train, in the airport, in bathrooms, at restaurants, at bookstores, and it just felt easy. I mean, and I felt like the drivers and the staff, and they respect you more than anything because they do it in their villages.
Yes, that's what I found so surprising. Like,
and when
men actually actively look away, like they're conscious of whatever you're doing.
And
because
when you realize
so
that, they're so used to it because in the villages they breastfeed for 2-3 years on average, and it's a very natural thing for them because they don't have access, financial access or logistical access to formula. So they have no option. So I feel like I told myself that they're going to be much more sensitive than anyone else. So if I'm comfortable with it, I should go ahead and do it. And not be conscious about it in public. So that was another beautiful journey.
It's also better than having a crying baby in the car. Exactly. Oh my God.
Exactly. And it's just calm, and it's tummy's full, and mama happy, baby happy, everyone happy. I'm from Delhi, so I go back there a lot, and I knew I'm going to be taking a lot of flights starting very early on back to Delhi for my baby to be with my family. So I knew that's going to be me at the airport for hours or in the car or long journeys. So I knew that I wanted to just feed him wherever I could, and it's just easier to do that than carry bottles and worry about sterilizing them and worry about boiled water and powder. And it just was so clean and easy that it made my life very smooth, weirdly. Even though I was like, imagine saying I'm constantly on the go, flying to Delhi, like getting into a car, to the airport, to security, to the plane, to another car, back to my home in Delhi. But it just felt so smooth because I didn't need any paraphernalia.
But you need the right wardrobe. Like what you're wearing today is great. Like
I mean,
with buttons.
I lived in buttons for that was my uniform for 14 months. I mean, nursing buttons was my uniform for 14 months. It was. And I also wondered, in Bombay there's no winter, but in Delhi, like when I was I was there over winter and breastfeeding, like that whole sweater thing was annoying.
Yeah. Poor baby. I can't breathe.
Sweater's like suffocating. There's another person I'd love to talk about. Her name is Sonali, actually. Going back to, again, talking about another interesting part, which I totally forgot about. So when I was pregnant and I was, I think, 29, 30 weeks, 31 weeks, I found out the baby's breech. This was before finding out the baby had the umbilical cord wrapped around his neck twice. So back then the baby was breech.
Oh God.
And again, I was so upset. I was just like crying to my sonologist, and I was crying to my husband, and I was like, this was not my plan. And this is out of my control, right? Scientifically, medically, if the baby is breached, there's absolutely no option unless someone physically goes in there and turns the baby. But that's quite vile, and I don't think they do it. It's not common in India. I know it's common in the West.
Yeah, you can do it from the outside also.
But the chance of success when there's not much place, I don't know the science behind it. I found out the baby is breech. I was quite disappointed. So, but again, I had such an amazing circle and such an amazing support system of women and teachers and educators that I just had the blessing of having access to. So I think one of my cousins in Chennai told me to connect with this lady, Sonali Santhanam. Her company is called Birth Basics. She's from Chennai, and she's a doctor, and she's a certified lactation consultant and doula and childbirth specialist and yoga teacher. So I connected with her, and I started doing a little bit of prenatal yoga through Zoom. We would chat, and then I mentioned to her, I was like, Sonali, my baby's breech, and this is really disappointing because I'm practicing hypnobirthing, and this was my plan to have an unmedicated, uninterfered birthing journey. And she's like, Anuva, don't worry, like we'll figure it out, we'll do something. And she helped me turn my baby through yoga poses on Zoom virtually.
Wow. Did you feel it turn?
I don't think so. I don't think I felt it turn, no. I think it was a bit early then, but it was because of her. And so, like I'm saying, like again, going back to...
So what did you do?
I did like headstands upside down, but monitored, like she was watching me on Zoom, but I was like upside down to like help the baby flip from inside and then engage like head down. It was
could have
remarkable.
Also accidentally flipped it the other way. Like
there is no other way, because Breech was when his legs are down,
the legs were, okay,
and then the head went down.
Okay, yeah. Wow.
And then, yeah, I mean, it could be even horizontal,
yeah.
for example. But, and then that happened. And then when I remember I connected with Sonali again when the baby had the umbilical cord wrapped around his neck 2 times. And I was like, Sonali, like this has happened. I'm like, what are the odds?
For this?
I was like, what are the odds? And she sent me a video. It was like a 4.5 minute video. I think it was the WHO, where they essentially show like 10 to 15 women giving birth naturally in rural countries with the umbilical cord, with the nuchal cord wrapped around the baby's necks like 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Even babies with 4 wraps are being delivered naturally. So Sonali sent that to me, and I just watched it over and over again.
I admire women who are pregnant and watch other women give birth.
It takes guts.
It's a very violent, I mean, it's just, it looks very violent when you're looking at it.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And it's just not something, because even when you're giving birth, right, you're not looking at yourself.
Yeah, like, I'm not sure I would want to see that.
Exactly. I agree with that. But I just feel like I had such strong mental courage to tell myself that if these women can do it, why can I not?
Yeah.
And that reinforcement really helped. Like sometimes you just need that reinforcement, and that's exactly what I needed. And Sonali is just one of the most incredible people I know. I wish she was in Bombay, but even virtually, she's so incredible. So she really helped me in my journey. I feel like it took a team, and all these people just were the right people at the right place, right time, giving me the information I wanted. Not too much, not too less. It was just the right amount.
Yeah, I mean, it takes also a village of support. Otherwise, it's a very lonely job to be there by yourself.
Even the feeding journey and everything postpartum can be very lonely. But I mean, I was blessed. My husband was by my side every single moment of me breastfeeding. So, and he enjoyed it. And I feel like if a woman is able to sacrifice, given the work schedules and their personal lives, if a woman is able to sacrifice and be on that journey of breastfeeding and give their child that security, you see those benefits later, I feel.
Yeah, it's how you approach parenting, and if you're willing to do certain sacrifices.
Yeah, you reap the benefits later on.
Yeah.
It's in our control in the beginning, and if we give it that time in the beginning, you can benefit from it later.
Yeah, it's also crazy how you have this connection with your child. Like sometimes you would feel that they're hungry before they're even hungry.
Very true. It's preemptive instinct.
Yeah.
I know, that's...
Or you're like in the other room.
Or you can just, if you spend time with your child, you can just tell what's triggering them. Like you just know whether it's like a poopy change or it's like hunger or it's sleep. You can just tell which one it is.
Yeah.
Which is so interesting. I feel like that's like a superpower.
Yeah. And you can't put your finger on it.
No. And you can't explain why you know that. But you know it very well. You're just certain that, oh, it's hunger. Oh, it's sleep. Oh, it's a poopy change. Oh, he or she's cranky because they're teething. Like, it's very clear.
Yeah, it gives also a lot of courage and confidence to you as a mother, and then it's easier for you to be on that journey.
Exactly.
When you're confident. Because otherwise worrying...
Not having an answer. Because if you're in the beginning, if you treat it as purely I treated motherhood as being very instinctive. I was like, I know my mom has gone through it, I know my mom-in-law has gone through it, I know my grandmother and my aunts have gone through it, but I feel like if I trust, myself in knowing what my kid needs, then we'll be on a good journey. So I know they've all gone through it, right? They've all raised all of us amazing people, but I feel like everyone's parenting journey is different, and the way they're planning on parenting is different. But I feel like if you trust it and if you have a positive instinct, then then you're good.
I also feel of the information that you were saying, like too much information, too less information. I feel all the medical information that you get, of course, is important. Like it's important to know that the umbilical cord is around the neck. It's important to know that the baby is breech. But maybe you can load off that worry to somebody else, like you would like husband, partner, whatever, you worry about this. Then we come to this stage and decisions have to be made. You have worried enough and we can take this decision together. I don't want to worry about it because I want to, somebody has to know.
The body. Exactly.
Somebody has to know these information.
And your gynecologist knows it, and I think that's more than enough, because when you trust your gynecologist, you're going to that person because they have that experience, right? Otherwise you wouldn't be with them, and they wouldn't be in this field if they didn't have that experience. I feel like they don't take this lightly. So I feel like when you're with a medical team, and if they know that this is what's going on, they'll do what's right for you. Tomorrow, if my gynecologist did tell me, Anuva, you know, it's not possible, like what your dream birth is not possible, I would be upset, but I would be like, okay, let's roll me in for a C-section. Then I wouldn't argue, because I genuinely trust him blindly and his medical work experience. So it's just circumstantial, like
you let other people worry about it to actually know if this is something to worry about.
Don't stress about it until you really have to worry about it.
Yeah, and the doctor will tell you if it's really something to worry about. At least if you have a doctor who doesn't believe in intervention. Of course, there's also other doctors who, like, the moment they see that the umbilical cord is wrapped around it, they're like, okay, let's go in for C-section right now, like emergency C-section.
That's what upsets me, because it's not really an emergency.
Yeah.
I feel like, but I guess it's everyone's personal journey, and the doctors, you know, it depends, like if they care about their reputation and their timing and they don't want to go through. But I feel like...
Yeah, also hospitals, like, do you really want to work on a Sunday evening?
Exactly. Like Sunday 3 a.m., like wait for labor to just like kick in naturally and then worry about that emergency, like medical situation. But I feel like the less we interfere, the more positive an experience can be. I just feel like childbirth doesn't require intervention. Just stay at home for as long as you can.
Yeah.
You know, because once you get to that hospital, your body's stressed. They're attaching you to all these wires and like giving you all these IVs, and then they're putting all these bands on you, and they're putting you into this uniform, and they're telling you there's no do's, there's essentially just don'ts. And it's just so it's just so bureaucratic, right? And I get it. They can be sued if they don't follow medical protocol. But I feel like if women understand that it's natural to just be at home and sleep and labor and have a bath and shower and just be fresh, because it's going to be a long journey, it's going to be a long experience, then they would be less stressed and they can just enter. My dream would have been to just enter the hospital and go and deliver, but in a way it was kind of similar, because I just went into labor and just delivered.
Yeah. And you also settled in the hospital, so like it's not like you were there to get induced. I'm sure you were there for a couple of hours,
I was there for a couple of hours,
sitting in your bed.
And then at midnight my doula was like, just sleep if you can, because it's going to be a long night ahead. But
how do you sleep through contractions?
Like, what do you mean sleep?
I don't understand how
three minutes? Yeah, so I was just doing my breathing, I was doing my chanting, and I was telling myself, I didn't tell myself anything actually. I didn't tell myself that everything's going to be fine or the baby's going to, I just trusted that my body is doing what it needs to. And every time a surge came, I just told myself I just have to breathe through it and chant through it.
That didn't take away energy from you, like
no, it empowers you, because it's also something I did through my pregnancy. I've done it through my life. Yeah, it's something I've always turned to in like a moment of weakness or a moment where I've dipped, because I'm spiritual. But
so your body knew also the effect it has.
Yeah, and it gives you like an internal form of power, or give me an internal form of power where I can achieve anything. And you tell yourself that it's transitional and it's seasonal. I think that's very important.
Yeah, I mean, I'm impressed by your mental aptitude and like clarity and positivity, because it is all in the mind.
It's about, it's all in the mind, and it's about making up your mind, I feel. Because once, I think even my doctor, even my gynecologist, he knew that I've made up my mind on wanting something.
Yeah, I guess you sound like a very strong-willed person. You must have been like, do I argue with this woman? Or
I was very firm. Every time I entered his clinic, I was very certain about what my plan was. And he was so supportive. And I think I chose the right gynecologist, where he's completely pro-natural. He would never cut anyone open unless medically required. And that's the last resort. So I think we were a great team and everything was just working.
It's important to go in there with this confidence as a woman, like even if you don't have a doctor who's so natural, like inclined.
Correct.
If you have the clarity of thought and you're like, this is my way or the highway.
Correct.
Or I'll go to a different doctor, because you do have the choice to go to a different doctor. Then eventually, like, you just have to be very strong-minded. Obviously, information is key. That you also know where are you coming from.
Exactly.
Like you've spoken to your hypnobirthing coach.
I've done my homework, exactly.
Yes, you know why are you saying those things, hence you can't be wavered.
Exactly.
It's really important to get your...
I think it's important to have, especially in this journey where life can hit you with a lot of curveballs, right? For me, I say my pregnancy was a breeze, and it was, but baby was breech at some point, baby had umbilical cord wrapped around his neck twice, baby came out with a tongue tie. So really it could have been very different, but I mentally told myself that it's going to be a smooth journey and I'm going to be positive about all these facts that have been delivered to me. And then you have to have clarity where you either tell yourself that I'm not built for this, I'm not built for pain, or to tolerate pain, and then I just want to be cut open and I want that certainty. Yeah. Some families just feel like they're not built for that uncertainty. And yes, my journey was very uncertain leading up to that week, right? The week of my 38th, 39th week was extremely uncertain. It could have gone either way, right? So that uncertainty does really take a toll on you and your family. But the ending was beautiful and positive. I think it depends
on what kind of person you are. You just have to know yourself really well, which is... Pregnancy helps you so much in getting to know yourself, also your strengths and weaknesses. Yeah. Like, can you deal with certain things or can you not? And it's just important to be comfortable in your pregnancy. So whatever gives you comfort, if it gives you comfort to be, I feel, to stick with you, like, I want to do this instinctively. I don't want to read 5 parenting books. I just want to do this instinctively. Yeah. Or if it gives you comfort to be like, you know what, my delivery date is this day and that time.
15th of July and at 8 a.m. And that's one way to do it.
Whatever gives you comfort.
Yes.
And whatever, like...
But I also feel like in pregnancy, it's preparing you for a life you never knew. Yeah. So I feel like...
Know thyself. I think you need to know yourself to be able to pull through raising children.
Exactly.
If you don't, it'll kill you.
I feel like the babies are constantly throwing curveballs at you, infants, toddlers. You never know what tomorrow holds, right, with them, what could trigger them. So I feel like pregnancy, it can be challenging. So I feel like it's an initiation into, knowing that life is going to be challenging now.
Like, period pain is an initiation to like what pregnancy. I mean, it feels a bit unnecessary to go through this every fucking month.
I know. Like, why women? Why don't men have to do even one out of the 5 things?
Yeah, I know.
Just take one. Yeah. Just take like breastfeeding or the weight gain or the delivery or something. Just one.
Weight gain they do sometimes. They never do.
Sure, they do gain with the mum, but like. The way our bodies change, like nothing else.
Nothing else. But so it's a preparation. I mean, we've just got to deal with it. So bleeding every month is a preparation for giving birth. Pregnancy is a preparation for being a mother.
Being a parent.
And we just have to take it as like initiation.
Exactly. Initiation, then everything is seasonal and then suddenly they won't need you, right? I mean, your older one is in school now. I feel like my son who's 20 months is becoming more and more independent, and I want to just enjoy every moment because suddenly he's going to be in big school and then we're not going to see them for a couple of hours. Like, it's
and then they have their own friends.
I know, and then college. Exactly. So I feel like they're only going to become more and more independent with time. So I feel like if you, again, like, give it your all for a bit, if possible, if your circumstances allow you, it makes it worth it. Definitely.
And this pregnancy, so is it very different? You're only 4 months now, but it's very different?
Weirdly very different.
Yeah? How is it different?
I mean, just the symptoms. It's strange. I can't believe the same body is going through it exactly 2 years later, but it's so different. And also I think because I have a toddler, right? I feel like that just drains the energy out of your body more. I get tired faster. And it's just been like different. I've had really bad nausea this time, which I never had the first time around, which is quite strange. But I guess I never knew it could be so different. But again, I'm just treating everything as it's so seasonal, it's so transitional, it's something I wanted, it's something everyone goes through. So the less big deal you make out of it, the happier you will be.
I agree.
Yeah.
Just to make a big deal out of it. Here I am saying that, having a podcast,
I
making
know,
a really,
I know.
really big deal
I
of
just
it.
feel like the two things that are definitely going through in my head are it's very hormonal this time around already, because I feel like because your body's already gone through that hormonal shift with the first pregnancy and then the breastfeeding and then the stopping and then the next hormonal shift and now this pregnancy hormonal shifts. I feel like all those hormones are just chaotic inside me, because and then I look at my son and I feel that mom guilt of like, oh my god, I just want to enjoy every moment with this toddler till I deliver the next one, because then it's never just going to be it's not going to be just us being his parents. He's going to have to share. So it's interesting. This time around, it's very different because of the hormones, because of the mom guilt. It's all very real. It's very interesting.
Yeah, don't let the mom guilt get to you.
I know, it's so tough.
Yeah.
I know, but it's part of life. It's part of life's journey. Yeah.
Well, it was wonderful having you on this
too.
podcast. So
Thank
much
you.
positivity.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed sharing my journey.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people hopefully learned also a lot that this is it's all in your mind.
It's all in the mind.
And you can turn it around in the last 3 weeks still.
Yes,
like,
instantly.
and if you're on a journey where you feel negative after
And
listening
you
to
receive
this,
information that you weren't ready for, but you can still just sort of shove it under the rug and go on about what your plan was.
Yeah, and we'll share all the doula and the hypnobirthing
and the yoga coach.
Yeah,
and
everything online. It's all online, I think, right?
Yes.
So,
yes.
yeah.
We'll be sharing all the details.
Great.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so
It was
much.
a lovely conversation.
It was, yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to 9+9, the Honest Pregnancy and Birthing podcast. And if you have any feedback or other stories that you would like to share, you can obviously email us to 9+9@heartgut.in. That is 9 as a number, plus 9 again as a number, at @ajrkat.in. Thank you so much, and like, share, subscribe, follow, share with your friends, and do all the things you're supposed to do on social media.